Oh, yeah, yeah.
It's okay.
Thank you, Paul.
We're done. Okay. Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, or should I say for my final time, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the 2022 annual meeting of West Northamptonshire Council. It was never going to be an easy task for three totally different councils to merge into one. But I believe we have made a giant leap forward for almost 500,000 people that we are here to represent. My thanks really go to you, along with the Cabinet team and our hard-working officers, in particular Martin Henry and his team who've managed a balanced budget for us. My job as the first chairman of our new council was to be the face of the council, visiting, attending events throughout West Northamptonshire, and representing you and promoting our council. I feel very humbled and honoured to have been chosen to be the first chairman of our council, a position that certainly has had its ups and its downs. In the beginning, with nothing in place to support the office of the chairman of the council, sleeves had to be rolled up and there had to be a new protocol. I'm very grateful for the support of the small but select group of backroom boys and girls who have worked very hard to resolve the downs and to enable the ups. My thanks go to a tiny but important civic group established almost by mistake of councillors Phil Larratt, David Smith and Jamie Lane, and supported in the main by Rebecca Peck, Caroline Burke and Patrina Rankin, along with Roger Coleman, our council sergeant, and my minder, without whom the council chairman would be totally lost. My thanks must also go to those sitting on my right, our monitoring officer, with whom I have shared a giggle or two, and to Paul Hanson, a quiet, steady, and reliable support. So thank you to you two for your help. I give thanks to my Deputy Chairman, Councillor Andre Gonzalez de Savage, for his support at functions and here at Council meetings, making sure that I have included everyone who wishes to contribute to debate with the little slips of paper that I'm sure you all know he passes me. Thank you very much, Andre. Finally, my thanks actually go to you. I've enjoyed your company and being able to spar with some of you on occasions and from time to time. I've thoroughly enjoyed my year as chairman, meeting some lovely people and visiting unusual places. So I thank you for the support you have given me to being able to sit here for a year. Thank you. It is now my pleasure to hand to Cynthia Spencer a cheque that you've all helped raise funds for. And it's a cheque for £9,428.60.
last week. Money that has been raised here will actually pay for more than 2 weeks' worth of care for a patient at the hospice. So it's an absolutely fantastic amount of money. So thank you so, so much. We really do appreciate it. Thank you.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, we come to the business of our meeting. And the first item is to elect the chairman of West Northamptonshire Council for the ensuing year. Can I call upon Councillor Jonathan Nunn, who will move the proposition that Councillor Andre Gonzalez de Savage be elected chairman of West Northamptonshire Council for 22-23. You have 5 minutes, Councillor Nunn.
Thank you, Chairman. And firstly, may I congratulate and thank you for the professionalism and grace you have shown in undertaking all aspects of the role of our first chairman of West Northants Council. On behalf of us all, thank you, Anne. So I'm really... And I'm delighted to move the proposition that Councillor Andre Gonzalez de Savage be elected chairman of West Northants Council for the year 2022-23. Now, I've known Andre for well over 20 years. We first met, in fact, at Wootton Parish Council, where we first became councillors. At that time, East Hundsbury, which was our home patch, was in the Wootton Parish. It now has its separate council. But throughout those years, I've always felt fortunate to have Andre as both a colleague, and I've also known him as a good friend. His characteristics are of being energetic, driven, determined, always wanting to do the right thing, and highly supportive as a colleague and friend, and loyal as well. Andre's always been a dedicated champion for his ward, and actually long before being an NCC councillor or a WNC councillor, he worked incredibly hard as a parish councillor, and in fact even longer as chair of our local residents association. He's also always been a champion for Northamptonshire as well, and so I know that he will be our best champion for West Northants. Whilst at NCC, Andre was always prepared to take on the difficult areas, and he worked, in fact, across most of the key areas, but I particularly remember his time at Highways, his knowledge of fire, police, community safety, and his passion for economic development. He therefore has a really broad experience across the various areas of the council, which I believe will hold him in good stead as he represents us across West Northants. But his dedication is also shown through many other activities, including that of a school governor. He remains also chair of Adrenaline Alley, the most wonderful facility that supports young people into positive life opportunities and into sport, and that's just to name two of these areas. The WC chairman role is, of course, fairly new, indeed for a new council, but we know that Andre will bring tremendous energy to promoting and helping to further establish that role. And I know that he already has a bold plan to put that role and the council out there across West Northants. So we thank Andre in advance for his dedication to this role, but we also thank his lovely family who are here this evening and who I know will be a great support to him. His wife Helen particularly will without doubt help bring that sparkle and magic to those engagements where she accompanies Andre as his consort. Therefore, once again, I'm delighted to move the proposition that Councillor Andre Gonzalez de Savage be elected chairman of West Northants Council for the year 2022-23. Thank you.
I now ask Councillor David Smith to second the proposition. Your time limit is 3 minutes, please.
I shan't take up 3 minutes, Chair. Thank you. And congratulations on your past year. I think we've all thoroughly enjoyed your tenure. I've not known Andre nearly as long as Jonathan has, but I shall remember one thing when I was newly elected to WNC. I bumped into Andre in County Hall, and he took me round on a tour, and he took me down into the cells. Goodness gracious. I think maybe that was a warning to me not to cause any trouble. But yeah, he's been a good guiding light for me for this past year. His knowledge of the town and the West is really very useful. So very, very happy to second him as chair for the year. And of course, you can all be the principal citizen of West Northamptonshire. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed. Are there any further nominations? Well, if there's only one nomination, then the vote can be taken now. All those in favour of Councillor Andre Gonzalez, please show. Thank you very much. I believe that's carried. Thank you. So, Councillor Andre Gonzalez-Savage, you have been duly proposed and seconded in the office of Chairman of West Northamptonshire Council for the year 22-23. Are you prepared to accept?
I will, ma'am.
Thank you very much. Then, with pleasure, you may have my chain of office.
Thank you very much. Sorry, Candy. Just now, but feel very honourable. What do you think? Is it fine? Okay, it's fine. Great, okay. Thank you very much. Fantastic. I'll just hang on to it. Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah, you ought to hang on to that. Posterity.
And thank you very much.
Stand there, which is more safe, I think. Continue, we'll go front or back, situation. Yeah, front door.
I'm going to disappear behind the curtain and make an entrance. Quite nice.
Lovely, I will. Yes. Just to confirm then, ladies and gentlemen, colleagues, councillors, that I, Andre Gonzalez-Savage, having been elected to the office of Chairman of West Northamptonshire Council, declare that I take the office upon myself and will duly and faithfully fulfil the duties of it according to the best of my judgment and ability. Just confirming that in writing. Thank you. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to firstly say a very big thank you to Councillor Jonathan Nunn, leader of this council, for his most sincere nomination, and to all colleagues for the open endorsement, and to Councillor David Smith for his thoughtful and genuine endorsement. And I promise to take anyone down to the cells next time who misbehaves. It is with the greatest honour in this council to be made chairman and first citizen of West Northamptonshire in this Jubilee year, and I pledge to carry out the role with genuine care for our council, the good people we all represent, and the loyal professional officers of West Northamptonshire Council, and the support of my consort and good lady Helen. I thank our retiring chairman, Councillor Anne Addison, who has delivered the role with an abundance of care, tact and diplomacy in the professional approach to all that is carried out, and with the most generous support towards a very worthy chosen charity, Cynthia Spencer Hospice. We all come together to represent the very best interests and concerns of our community, and the first rule and responsibility of government is to keep people safe from harm and maltreatment. And we must all work together to do our best to ensure that we protect our businesses, our residents and our visitors. It is shared responsibility in the same way that we are all corporate parents, encouraging and supporting the 1,143 looked after children, and we must all do all possible to ensure that fairness and equality prevails throughout all we do. As a child in a great family of 7 and a daddy to 3 talented, energetic and sometimes challenging teenagers, and 2 little ones, named Woody and Jasper, I know that growing up with a vibrant number of points of view and most subjects and a multitude of differing priorities can be considerable, but looking after the positives, working together and supporting in times of need makes it a very harmonious world. If everyone just stops and gives an hour of their time each week to their community in a voluntary capacity, just imagine what collective worth that would be. I take the lead from my parents, who have amassed over 100 years of volunteering locally and nationally. Truly amazing with all the invaluable experiences being shared, and they're not finished yet. I have personally represented my area through various associations, as Councillor Jonathan Dunn indicated, bodies, councils and organisations since 1987. And with the 35 years, have given me a little insight into just how things need to be delivered correctly and with care and attention. I believe in fairness and balance and will do all possible to encourage that and not accept personal attacks on our colleagues, officers, and feel very strongly also that if an injustice is suffered, that it must be put right and not create any actions that damage our council and our local government responsibilities. Our heritage, culture, and the values that we all have are varied and important to us. Let us ensure that we value all those good people around us too, and we come together as one council. Let's work through difficulties together and bring solutions where possible. I believe in collective working and decisive, robust leadership and full accountability. I've always been a team player and will be fair to all. We need to look out for the quiet members of our society and not just those who propel their voices and messages in sometimes the loudest and sometimes very hurtful ways. We have challenges in our community, country, and globally. Some of them also in our council, and some we are responsible for to find solutions to, and others to beyond our immediate control, but doing all we can to encourage and support the right actions is vital. We have a collective voice and we must use this responsibly. We need to look after our environment more effectively, maintain our highways better, and lessen the impact on our climate. I don't condone battles or wars and will not be used or abused and will defend human rights and dignity. We all are entitled to a good, healthy, wholesome life, and having had a few personal, very painful experiences, I know just how important it is to value every opportunity with loved ones, and we must look after our seniors better and focus on preventative and timely care. Good health and well-being is crucial for us, and those that we represent have the right to that too. Mental health cannot be overlooked either, and I ask that we all look out for one another and help or signpost where possible. From cradle to grave, we are human and need to act as responsible ones. For my chosen charities to support and raise invaluable funds for, I have decided on Northamptonshire Search and Rescue and the Air Ambulance. They're totally volunteer run, they have tremendous capabilities, and they're worthy of our support and the thousands of hours they put in every working day and every day of the year. Supporting our emergency services is vital in searching for missing people, often very vulnerable ones, and in need of our care. It goes without saying that in some of the very harrowing circumstances that the air ambulance teams work in, they really are in need of our support where at all possible. They're not funded by government in any way. Colleagues, I will support your efforts in your respect of a fair agenda, and remember that when we all do, whatever we all do, makes a great deal of difference to so many people's lives. Our younger generation need the best encouragement and stability whilst we embrace the superb developments in innovation and technologies to enhance their career opportunities. We are at the very heart of leading global industries in West Northamptonshire, including high-performance technologies, motorsports, education and public protection, and the superb and vibrant visitor economy in West Northamptonshire, and with the right aspirations of one of the United Kingdom's most successful counties and newest cities to come. Let's promote and encourage pride and prosperity locally, nationally and globally in all we do, and support the growth of a safe and harmonious and prosperous West Northamptonshire in this notable year of Her Majesty's Platinum Jubilee. I now declare this meeting officially started. Ladies and gentlemen, the next item on the agenda is item number 2, appointment of our Vice Chairman of West Northamptonshire Council. And I call upon Councillor Malcolm Longley to move a proposition. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Chair. Well, I'm delighted and very honoured to be able to move this proposition, and that Councillor John Shepherd should be henceforth known as Vice Chairman John Shepherd. I'd first like to start by thanking you, Andre, for your job as Vice Chairman over this last year. And you'll now have John on your left-hand side. I've known John for quite a few years, and I think most of us know him quite well. Those that from Daventry in particular will know John, where at one time he ran the finances there, and he did that very well, as my recollection. He has a legal background, and he's an intelligent man. I never say that to his face, but there you are, he is an intelligent man, and a very thoughtful man. And he will always ask the difficult question, and he'll ask it very nicely, very politely, but it will be quite incisive. And so I think with his personality and your personality, Andre, they'll make a rather excellent team. So I'm very, very pleased to move that proposition for 22-23 that Councillor John Shepherd becomes the Vice Chairman of West Northamptonshire Council. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Longley. Councillor David Smith, I believe you wish to second the proposal.
Delighted to second the proposal. Worked with John back in the DDC days. Very entertaining, a lot of fun. I think we'll all enjoy John in his position as Vice Chair this coming year. And of course, with him being of a legal background, I may well need him should I be presented to the cells by our Chair. So happy to second. Thank you.
Are there any further nominations for the position of Vice Chairman? Thank you. Okay, in that case, I ask for a vote, please. All those in favour of Councillor John Shepherd being appointed Vice Chairman of the Council the year 2022-2023? Thank you. All those against? Any abstentions? Thank you. That's carried. Thank you very much indeed. Councillor John Shepherd, would you like to join me on the desk here? Thank you. Councillor John Shepherd, having been duly proposed and seconded to hold the office of Vice Chairman of the West Northamptonshire Council for the year 2022 to 2023, are you prepared to accept the nomination?
Thank you. Yes, I am.
Thank you very much. And congratulations to you, Councillor John Shepherd. Good, looking forward to working with yourself.
I, John Shepherd, having been elected to the office of Vice Chairman of the West Northamptonshire Council, declare that I take that office upon myself and will duly and faithfully fulfil the duties of it according to the best of my judgment and ability.
Thank you very much indeed. Okay, the next item on our agenda is item 3, apologies for non-attendance. May I ask Paul?
Thank you, Chairman. Apologies for non-attendance have been received from Councillors Tony Baggott-Webb, Cecile Irving-Swift, Anna King, Greg Lunn, Charles Manners and Brian Sargent.
Thank you, Paul. Any others to be announced? Fiona. Councillor Baker. Councillor Baggott-Webb.
Thank you. I'm here.
Excellent. You're here, sir.
I'm not sure where my apologies were given. Thank you.
Obviously, your press manager managed to slip them in just in case, definitely. Thank you. And that's duly noted. Okay, item 4. Oh, Councillor Purser.
Yes, Councillor Zoe Smith.
Councillor Zoe Smith. Thank you. Any further apologies at all? Thank you. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, item 4, declarations of interest for members and officers. West Northamptonshire takes very seriously any breach of the Code of Conduct. Councillors need only declare an interest that has not been recorded in the Register of Interests. Any councillor who declares such an interest must remove themselves for the whole item, and councillors are asked to declare the item number in which they have interest, the nature of the interest, and whether it is a disclosable pecuniary interest or a non-statutory interest. Any interests, please declare at this point of the meeting, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you. Okay. Item 5, Chairman's announcements. And just to reconfirm that my charity of the year, Northamptonshire Search and Rescue, a great team, only 38 of them that managed to cover West Northamptonshire and beyond with a tremendous style of operating 24/7, 365 days of the year. Fabulous name dog called Ted, and a couple of pieces of very vital equipment with them. They really do some amazing work, always called out by the police and fire services, working with ambulances as well, to find lost people and secure onwards, safely returning to their homes, and sometimes in very harrowing conditions. I've been aware of them for the last 15 or so years. They're a great team, and I have to say they really are there for anyone at any point in time. My other chosen charity is Northamptonshire and Warwickshire Air Ambulance, who, without doubt, carry out incredible skills, as we know, sometimes the most difficult circumstances. There are a couple of other announcements. Badges and certificates for the anti-violence campaign, which saw the Knife Angel sculpture on the Market Square very recently, and the square outside All Saints. In terms of that, you'll find that Councillor David Smith has organised that there are the anti-violence champion certificates on your desks, together with blue badges. Please do sign them, publicise them, and wear the badge with pride. It really is something very important that we all take part in and all ensure that our communities are fully aware of the anti-violence nature of this. I have to say, it was absolutely amazing seeing the Knife Angel in town. I hope you all had the chance to do so. It's on a global tour, effectively. And it really means that seeing some of those knives, of which we donated the very first knife through the Knife Amnesty in Northamptonshire, takes them off the streets, and we hope that the violence stops. It really is essential we do all we possibly can. I'd like to remind everyone that obviously the Platinum Jubilee celebrations of Her Majesty the Queen are ongoing, and clearly over the weekend, the long weekend that we will have a bank holiday coming up, it's essential that we all try and take part and motivate our communities to do so too. Plenty of street parties, lots of opportunities. Do check the website, which is tremendous. There are pageants in town, together with obviously the Delaprey Picnic, which is tremendous. And I have to say there are some fabulous organised and new celebrations that have come through from schools and community groups that I'd urge you all to try and support and please do follow the media and comms details that are coming out from the Council on a regular basis over there. Ladies and gentlemen, we also have coming up shortly the Birmingham 2022 Queen's Baton Relay, which is visiting Northampton on Sunday the 10th of July during its final journey through England this summer. The full route has been revealed and the details have been circulated, and I know that the comms team will recirculate those close to the time, but please do feel free to join in with that celebration. It is important. I do remember when the Olympics torch came through Northampton and was up at Beckett's Park, tremendous in terms of the opportunity to get everyone engaged with that. So please feel free to join in and enjoy that. The relay will travel down Guildhall Road, St John Street, Swan Street, and it will really flow through to a photo shoot outside this very building at the Guildhall. So please try and find some time if you can to engage on the 10th of July on its final journey through England. Finally, in order for all members to be heard clearly, please can I ask you all to remain seated while speaking to ensure you speak into the microphone. We have a new system this evening for the first time. It does help all members of our team to understand who would like to speak and who would like to make a point. Please remember that we do have limited times in terms of that. It's a fairness scenario. I will try and give you all time to speak, but I do ask that you try and stick to that, and when I do give you the minute warning, it really is a minute warning. So please, ladies and gentlemen, do take note of that. And please be brief and succinct if you can, and please, no repetition. It's not a political scenario here where you'll gain any extra points before doing so. It really is important. Ladies and gentlemen, item 6 on the agenda, is it the Council's wish that I sign the minutes of the previous meeting as being true and accurate record of the meeting held on the 21st of April? Councillor Stone.
I just want to make one point on the minutes, if that's okay with you, Chair.
Is it relative to the minutes?
It is.
Thank you.
Under section 21, the last bullet point there is talking historically some issue, we're talking safeguarding. Historically, some issues had fallen through the gaps. I did make the point at the last meeting about 2 important gaps that I feel are really important. If we don't name them, then they're in danger of remaining fallen, I feel. And the 2 that I mentioned was cuckooing and the deaths of people on the streets, homeless people dying on the streets. And I know that these are going to be taken up by the Safeguarding Board. Well, I hope they are, but I think they ought to be named. If it was said at the council meeting, then I think it's helpful for it to be named.
Thank you, Councillor Stone. We'll make that adjustment if you can, please, Paul. With that comment, I will also sign the minutes. Is that correct? Do I have authority to do so? Thank you. Thank you very much indeed. Okay, item 7, committee proportionality and appointment of members to committees and other bodies. I'll invite Councillor Jonathan Nunn, Leader of the Council, to introduce the report and move the proposal. You have up to 5 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. In proposing this report, I'd like to start by, first of all, reflecting on what a pleasure it's been to undertake this challenging but huge privilege of a role in the last 12 months, and what a pleasure it's been to work with representatives from all political sides of the Council. I believe we have together achieved a good number of things. I'd like to particularly thank my Deputy Adam and the Cabinet members, all of whom have worked incredibly hard to get to grips with their portfolio, every one of them working a minimum of 40 to 50 hours a week to do that and creating a supportive sounding board, both for me and for each other. We'd like to thank Lizzie Bowen for her tremendous hard work for the last 12 months, and also like to welcome Dan Lister to his new challenge. Also welcome Councillor Ian McCord to his new chair role. If any of you think that that's a soft appointment, you better do what we're doing. Strap in and hold tight. It won't be. Many thanks, please, to the Chief Executive as well and the senior team, the entire staff, for what I believe is evidenced as being a really good first year, showing that we're delivering on the promises that unitary must be better. Those highlights include year 1 delivered within budget, well within budget, balanced budget for the coming year. The Afghan and the Ukraine refugee support and response, winning Safer Streets funding alongside the police, the Knife Angel initiative and so on, regeneration across our 4 towns, the anti-poverty strategy, cross-party and written with other groups. We've dealt with huge issues with care staff during the pandemic and the retention payment that has seen that people stay in that industry. Inside our organisation, the local pay award above the national with the £10 minimum, absolute minimum wage has been part of the contribution as to why we are now becoming an employer of choice, and that is absolutely essential. Big progress on rough sleeper numbers following on from the pandemic, and cultural compact that brings the cultural fraternity together to boost the economy. In the south, we've seen the HS2 work and indeed the new HS2 Marshall. We've seen flood protection, £6.2 million, help protect our communities from flooding. UNICEF, child-friendly cities, progressing educational strategy, good communication with members and parishes, and now starting to move on to residents too, with a sustainability strategy, work which is now ongoing and progressing. An area of concern for us all has been planning, but we now see new senior team coming into place and excellent recruitment, which is starting to build capacity, now going well. So this year we've taken some tough decisions. There'll be more to come in the coming year, but together I believe we have created something that's beginning to be a council to be really proud of. And I'm therefore, with committee work being an important part of that, I'm therefore very pleased to propose the report on committee proportionality and appointment of members to committees and other bodies. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Nunn. Councillor Suresh Patel, would you like to second the proposal?
Yeah, Chair, please to second the report as outlined here.
Thank you very much. There have been some members of the council who'd like to comment and speak on this item. Councillor Wendy Randall is first. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Chair. We're very disappointed to have lost our position of chair on corporate scrutiny. I would have liked to see opposition roles on all chairs of scrutiny. It's a really important part of the council. Obviously, you know, we all know what happened within the county council, and we've felt that by having a chair of scrutiny, it ensures that local government remains transparent, accountable and open, resulting in improved public services. We felt that Councillor Stone done a really good job as chair of that scrutiny committee. And as the largest opposition group, we still feel that we should hold that position. I have done a bit of research around scrutiny, and there was actually a piece done by the House of Commons on scrutiny. And it makes an interesting read, actually, and there was one part in there saying, it is imperative that council executives involve scrutiny at a time when contracts are still being developed, so that all parties understand that the service will still have democratic oversight. So to me, it's all about being open, transparent, honest, and I think that when you're chair of the scrutiny and you're in the administration, it is quite difficult to actually scrutinise your own members. Some of your members are also friends, so when you've got to actually start challenging and questioning, I think sometimes it's given a softly approach. We do not want to go the same way as we did in the county council and get into that sort of position. So I would ask you, Chair, if there's any possibility that you would...
1 minute to go, Councillor Randall, thank you.
...rethink that position, or even as it goes through the year, if you think that it would be better to put an opposition chair into scrutiny, you know, we would really appreciate that. But I just wanted to note my disappointment. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Randall. Councillor Eales.
Thank you, Chair. Let me begin by wishing you a very good civic year, yourself and the Vice Chair. Please remember that. I'm saying that sincerely. Please remember that as I get through the contribution I'm going to make.
And Councillor Eales, you have 2 minutes and 45 seconds to go. Sir.
Okay, well, I'll add 5 seconds back on. The appointments in this report are matters for the administration. how you appoint your cabinet positions, committee positions. It demonstrates the value of political power and the sad byproduct of opposition. We may not like it, it's the way it is. What I don't think should fall into that category, however, is how we elect and nominate the chair or vice chair of this council, which at the moment it is in that category because it's a simple majority vote. And let's be honest, my maths aren't great, but we know which way that goes every single time. When this council was created, not only did it merge four, technically, authorities together, the civic head, and it's been said twice already tonight, so I know people know this, the first citizen for Northamptonshire and West Northamptonshire moved from being the mayor of the county town to being the chair of this authority. It is simply not right that the civic head, the first citizen, should be the possession of one political party. And I would say that, believe it or not, if I was sat on the opposite side of the room. And to demonstrate that, the mayor of Northampton, to my left, in some ways, is Councillor Meredith, and the deputy mayor of Northampton, somewhere, is Councillor Hibbert, whereas the town council has a very strong Labour majority. So the proof is in the pudding, and we are walking the walk. It's not right.
Councillor Eales, if I might just remind you that we are debating the proportionality of the committees.
We are.
And my good vice chairman has prompted me to obviously ensure us also to remind that you have just under 48 seconds to go. So if you'd like to round up, I'd much appreciate that. Thank you.
The
It's in your
first
interest.
citizen belongs to all of us. It shouldn't be the possession of any political party. When I raised this originally, I was told it wasn't a matter for the constitutional review. So I had a conversation with the leader. That came to that bore no fruit whatsoever. What we need, and I know there's some sympathy, and probably not so much sympathy in the benches opposite. What we need is a fair process, a formula by which the first citizen can be shared around. It should not be the possession of the administration, whoever that administration might be. The purpose of raising it in this forum is to say that we need a solution that can either be done through the Democracy and Standards Committee, or if you wish, we'll bring a formal motion to the next meeting. But it needs resolving. Thank you, Chair. Have a great year.
Thank you, Councillor. Sally Beardsworth.
Thank you, Chair, and congratulations on your position. I hope you have a good year. Firstly, can I say how very sad I was to hear about Lizzie Bowden standing down from the post. She was a cabinet member that we could go and talk to, and we believe she really listened. And I'm very sad that we have lost yet another woman, along with Danielle Stone, another woman. I really hope we're not turning into a misogynistic council, where you've got 2 people on the cabinet that are actually women and 8 men. I just don't want that to happen here. I know it happens elsewhere, and I don't want it to happen. Can I say this is I will work with Councillor McCord, as I worked well with Danielle Stone, who was an excellent chair, and she was very collaborative with other people. She brought people in, she made people feel as though they were welcome there, and it was a very relaxed, nice atmosphere to work under, as scrutiny should be. It shouldn't be too political. The other thing with Mr. McCord, Councillor McCord, is that I have, I'm sure myself, if I was in his position, I would have stayed as an independent, judging by the recent votes in local government, where so many people have actually lost their seats. I would have felt sure he would have actually stayed as an independent, because let's face it, 3 years ahead, we don't know what's going to happen, but the public have a long time memory. So thank you for that, and hopefully we'll move on. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Julie Davenport.
I am Sally.
Councillor Davenport.
I pressed it. Oh, yeah, Sue switched with me because I didn't know that.
Please go ahead. You have 3 minutes to speak. Thank you.
Okay. Firstly, I would also like to thank Lizzie Bowen. We didn't always see eye to eye, and the pain of the library closure still hurts. However, as a cabinet member, she did work incredibly hard, and she answered all emails, which some don't, unfortunately. And I believe she put her heart and soul into it. So I do think that is very sad. And I do agree with the balance, gender balance, but I'm not going to go into that debate. I also wanted to say that I am not part of any group. I am an island. It's the way I live and the way I wish to be. So I just wanted to clear that up. As for what has happened with the Chair of Scrutiny, I'm sure that Councillor McCord is more than competent to fulfil that role. But it does concern me a little, the way that this all comes across and the timing of this. Danielle Stone, I believe, did a really good job. The opposition, not the opposition, the administration admitted that. She spoke very well. And you see, my concern is, although we may be independent and we do like to view ourselves as that, with me, there is still a leaning towards the left, and I'm sure with Councillor McCord, he may have his leanings. So that is one concern that I have. And also the fact that because of everything that's happened, it could be perceived that offering him this position is a way of apologising, maybe, for what happened.
Councillor Davenport, may I just draw your attention that we are discussing the item 7, which is, as we know, committee proportionality and appointment of members to the committees and other bodies. It is important that you try and keep it to that point, which is not an individual named scenario, good or bad, either way, but keep it balanced and certainly keep it proportional. You have just under a minute to go. Thank you.
Okay. So, well, I think everyone got the gist. That is my only concern. So I am very sorry that this has happened because it took us years to get an opposition member being head of scrutiny when it was agreed at NCC. And I do think with Councillor Stone that being part of NCC and seeing the downfall, you know, the experience was there to judge how things are going better. But obviously, Councillor McCord deserves a chance to prove to everyone that...
Thank you, Councillor Davenport.
Okay. I said it again.
Councillor Rosie Humphreys.
Thank you, Chair. May I echo the congratulations to you already expressed. I have 2 points. Firstly, I note that members were notified of the amendments to Cabinet delegations via their weekly briefing last Friday, rather than being advised by the monitoring officer as specified in the Constitution. This is a minor breach in comparison to the procedural rules that the overview and scrutiny groups are subject to. I quote page 102 of the Constitution. A coordinating overview and scrutiny group composed of the chairs and vice chairs of the overview and scrutiny committees shall be responsible for approving the work programmes prepared by the overview and scrutiny committees. Once any programme has been approved, a copy will be sent to all members of the council or relevant officers. As far as I know, no work programme has been circulated, so this appears to be a breach of the Constitution and could give a worrying impression that the scrutiny function is not being taken seriously. So I ask that the work programmes be circulated as a matter of urgency. My second point relates to the regrettable replacement of Councillor Stone as chair of the Corporate Scrutiny Committee. She is, of course, an experienced and highly able member of the Labour group. If scrutiny fails to provide a sufficiently robust challenge and lacks critical thinking, then this council's decision-making is in danger of being contaminated by groupthink. Groupthink occurs when members of a group all accept a viewpoint that represents a perceived group consensus, whether or not the individual members believe it to be valid, correct, or desirable. I hope that Councillor McCord might remind the other scrutiny chairs of the importance of guarding against this mentality. I read with interest his 2018 article arguing that Northants County Council was destroyed by groupthink. While I probably won't agree with Councillor McCord about much, but I do find his theory on this compelling. Although West Northants is a year old and technically a new council, it is built on the ruins of the catastrophic financial failure of Northants County Council, and at times the past can feel extremely present. Every chair and vice chair of the scrutiny committees is now represented by the administration. as former Conservative leader of South Northants and the shadow West Northants councils are now exonerated by the Conservative Party, one has to take Councillor McCord's independence with a bit of a large pinch of salt, I would suggest. It could be all too easy for these committees to conform to the group view and not to speak out. Indeed, we see this at every full council meeting when the vast majority of councillors are mute. This council must ensure that it does not get blinded by groupthink and fail to value the contribution of the critical friend and the dissenting voice. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Humphreys. Councillor Jonathan Harris, you have up to 3 minutes. Councillor Jonathan Harris.
Thank you, Chair. May I also offer my congratulations to you and the Vice Chair. As per the Constitution, the decision on appointments to scrutiny chairs is entirely a matter of the administration, as we know. However, it is clear that the public's patience and trust in politics is wearing very thin. It's important, therefore, for us as opposition members to question decisions on the basis of not just suitability, but also face validity. How does it look to the public? I would like to make reference to a specific report from 2017. It's here. I haven't printed all 61 pages. It's the effectiveness of local authority oversight and scrutiny committees. If cabinet members and chairs haven't seen it or read it, I would encourage you to do so. There are some very important points made about scrutiny in local authorities and are worthy of note. And I make these points with sincerity, not facetiously, and to provide an alternative important perspective. In section 26, the Centre for Public Scrutiny states that the practice of reserving all positions of responsibility to the majority party is something which usually happens by default and can harm perceptions of scrutiny's credibility and impartiality. The issue here isn't about intent behind appointments, but rather how it looks to our residents. In section 26, it goes on to state, it is vital that the role of the scrutiny chair is respected and viewed by all as being a key part of the decision-making process, rather than as a form of political patronage. This is another key issue that on balance simply might not look good to our residents. One can see perhaps how it might look like jobs for the boys or girls for that matter. The report goes on to say in section 35, we believe that there is great merit in exploring ways of enhancing the independence and legitimacy of scrutiny chairs, such as a secret ballot of non-executive councillors. Wouldn't that be a refreshing
1 minute to go,
position
sir.
for this council to take? I would like to also re-emphasise the point made by Councillor Humphreys. I only, as a substitute last week, at one of the scrutiny committees, saw the first draft of a work plan, and it does state very clearly in the Constitution that it will be sent to all members, not that we have to hunt it out. There are clearly opportunities for this council to improve, and I hope that we are clear and transparent in regards to the review being completed by the Centre for Public Scrutiny and take learning from them. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Harris. Finally, Councillor Emma Roberts. You have up to 3 minutes.
Thank you, Chair. Congratulations to you on your year. Firstly, I'd just like to say, can we follow our constitution? It's great that on the screen you're referred to as chair. It's great that my colleagues are referring to you as chair, but I think it's inappropriate that the paperwork refers to you as chairman. We have moved on. Can the people in the background not shout and scream, please? Thank you.
Councillor Roberts, I would like to be addressed as chairman. I'm sure everyone will have their own feelings about it.
Chair, our constitution.
And
Chair, if I may, our constitution refers to you as chair.
Good.
And we have moved on.
Councillor Roberts, sorry, I don't often use the gavel, but I will ask you on this occasion to please keep your points relative to what we're discussing. I am the chairman of the meeting. I, with pride and great honour, take the chairmanship of West Northamptonshire Council. Thank you. Please do carry on with your points.
Thank you, Chair. Our constitution refers to you as chair, and we have moved on. Gender balance and equality have moved on, so should we. It is an important point. On the committee papers, I'd like to congratulate every member of Cabinet and everybody that's been given a position and a place. I agree with my colleagues around the opposition chair in scrutiny, but I just want to make a point that as members of scrutiny from any political party, we have a duty to our residents to scrutinise. And I'd encourage absolutely everybody, whichever side they're on and whichever place they sit, to work together on those scrutiny panels and to actually make sure that we hold the papers that are coming before us, or indeed the ones that we want to come before us, to be scrutinised. We should, as members of those scrutiny panels, be able to say to our chairs of scrutiny and officers, there's a subject here, it's on the forward plan, I want to see it. As a committee, we want to review it. And it shouldn't be a position where we're prevented from doing that. So for me, it's less about who's on those scrutiny panels, as in chairs of them, but more about how the scrutiny panels work together and actually scrutinise the papers and the products that are coming before us. If we don't do that, that's where we will fail. If we don't follow our constitution to do that, that's where we will fail. And finally, I just wanted to say that, Chair, I have huge respect for you and a huge amount of time, but if you are going to spend your year cutting us off because we say something that you don't quite like, then I don't think that's going to work. I had an opinion, I've got a point, I wanted to make it. Councillor Davenport had an opinion and a point, she wanted to make it. I'd urge you to allow us to do that. I hope you enjoy your year.
Councillor Roberts, as your West Northamptonshire councillor, I'm very happy to hear your opinion, and we'll discuss this outside of the chamber as well, I'm sure. Happily do so. But I am the chairman, I read the badge says chairman on this badge, and so therefore I wear it with pride. Our next speaker is Councillor Adam Brown. I have Councillor Stone also on the list, then. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. And just to respond to Councillor Roberts on the point about scrutiny, I entirely agree that scrutiny should be free to go where it wants to. But from my experience, it has never been prevented from doing so. There's always been an open invitation for scrutiny to invite in reports, to request what it wants to see. And if it hasn't done so, then that's something that the CFGS should be looking at. And I look forward to their report, and we'll study that in detail.
Thank you, Councillor Brown. Councillor Danielle Stone.
Oh, lovely. Thank you so much. I thought you were going to overlook me for a horrible minute there. I'm going to be abstaining on this issue, Chair, and I'd really quite like the opportunity to explain why. I think all of us would agree that we have three important pillars supporting our vision of becoming an excellent council within 5 years, and they are democracy, representation, and good governance. I think we would all agree with that, wouldn't we? But I think we've got an issue, and I'd like to say what I think it is. 52% of the population are girls and women. Women hold up half the sky. It's been women that were disproportionately impacted by austerity, losing both jobs and services. Women have been disproportionately impacted by Brexit, COVID, and the current cost of living crisis. Women still suffer a gender pay gap. Women have been disproportionately impacted by the huge increase in domestic violence, Chair. And women have been disproportionately impacted by what the police call an epidemic of sexual violence. So it seems to me we have an issue with that first pillar I talked about. We have an issue with democracy. We run a cabinet system. Who is holding the power in this authority? Who are the decision makers? A handful of mostly white men. And I would call that a democratic deficit. That has closed down participation and debate. No written questions to cabinet portfolios, a limited number of motions, and a limited time for asking questions at full council. We have a gender-neutral constitution that's ignored, so we have chairman this, chairman that, chairman everything. You tell me you're not afraid, men, of ceding power to women if you have to keep displaying it in that particular way. We have a formal style of meetings. That actively discourages public participation at Cabinet and Scrutiny and full Council. We are the weaker for that. I would say we have a crisis of representation. If you look around this room, it's obvious. If you look at the opposition, you will see all of us have taken great pains over many years to make sure we represent diversity and inclusion. We cannot say the same for the administration.
Thank you, Councillor Stone. You have around 20 seconds to go. Thank you.
Good governance. We have the legacy of a failing council as our backdrop, so we know what it looks like, bad governance. Calla said no local authority should be auditing itself or scrutinising itself, yet we do not have an independent chair of audit. Even the county managed that one. Bad governance is where you scrutinise
Thank you,
yourself,
Councillor Stone. If you could round up,
please.
please.
And
Thank
you
you.
put into position people
Your 3
who look
minutes is
like
clear.
you, sound like you, and think like you. We've got a democratic deficit, a crisis
Thank you,
of
Councillor Stone.
representation, and no place for good governance.
Thank you. Councillor Guildford, please. Joe Guildford.
It's gone back. Yeah. Thank you, Chair. I too have an opinion. I too would like to make a point. I am a chair of a scrutiny group, but I have worked in the public sector, the private sector, the health sector, have significant experience, and for those that know me, know I will challenge my fellow colleagues. So I like to think that I have the support of everybody in this room. I'd like to assure them that I do make challenges, and those that have been in meetings with me know that. And I would also like to think I have gained this position on my experience, my professional skills, and not the fact that I'm a woman. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Guildford. Councillor Bambridge.
Thank you, Chairman. On Tuesday, I chaired the Place Scrutiny Committee. We have 14 members appointed on that committee. On Tuesday, 5 attended. All were Conservatives. Of the 9 who didn't attend, we only had apologies from 4, and there were no substitutes appointed. So may I suggest that some of the other side of this aisle get their parties into a state of order.
Thank you, Councillor Bambridge. Councillor Phil Larratt.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and congratulations on your appointment, and I hope you have an enjoyable year. Can I just say, Mr. Chairman, I don't think we should take anything from Councillor Stone about sexuality and women and politics. Let's face it, Mr. Chairman, this Conservative Party has already had 2 women Prime Ministers, and they haven't even had one as leader of their party, let alone a Prime Minister. And on top of that, the second greatest Prime Minister this country has ever had in Margaret Thatcher. We shouldn't take any truck from them on this, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Larratt. Councillor Meredith. I will take Councillor Meredith as the final speaker on this item, as we have more business to continue with.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, here we go again. We're going down that similar road. I'd like to remind this meeting that there's councillors sitting on that side that took the county council into bankruptcy. And we had a good scrutiny committee who actually warned them that this was going to happen. And I'd like to add, at the last county council, the scrutiny champion, who was the chair, was commended for the work that he done. And I think it's appalling that you've got the gall to take a chair off of that committee, off a scrutiny committee that was doing a really excellent job. And I'm rather surprised about Councillor Larratt making that choice. I thought Councillor Larratt was a reasonable man who would see what the Conservatives are doing. The Conservatives are going to take this West Northants Council into danger because of what is happening. And also, Councillor Stone is correct in everything she says. And I'll also give a warning. I give a warning to the chairman not to cut off people when they're talking. You have approximately 1 minute to go. Okay, not to cut off people when they're talking. It's not a done thing. Let people, for goodness sake, have a say and don't cut them off. Women have a right as fellow councillors to have a say in what happens to West Northants Council. And I also like to say to Lizzie Bowen, I'm sorry that you have left. I don't know the real reason why you have left, although the press says it's because you want to spend more time with your children. But I got an idea it wasn't through that. And I think this is another woman which has gone from this council. And also, just to Mr. Chairman, I know you're going to cut me off in a minute. Mr. Chairman, we have not got any scrutiny places on that committee, which the fellow councillor said there. So bear that in mind. We're not given any places on that. Okay, Mr. Chairman, thank you very much. I hope this council is not going to go down the road.
Meredith. Thank you for your opinion.
Okay, I've had my
Councillor
say.
Jonathan Nunn now,
Obviously,
please
you're going to cut me off.
Thank you. You have had your 3 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Councillor Jonathan Nunn.
Thank you, Chairman. Look, we did degenerate a bit there, didn't we? We heard from Councillors Davenport and Meredith in more of a novel soap opera, creative thinking nonsense. So let's look at some of this and just pick out a few comments from this. The audit committee.
Point of order, Mr. Chairman. Point of
Councillor
order.
Meredith, can I ask you to restrain yourself, please? Because otherwise I will have to ensure...
I've raised a point of order, Chair.
Councillor Meredith, you are not the chairman of the meeting. I would ask you, please, to have due respect for your colleagues.
He's just called me a soap
Councillor
opera.
Meredith, please.
My point of order, Chair. Point of order, Chair, is that...
Councillor Meredith, what is the point of order? Can you
council
please
has
raise...
just said I'm acting to a soap opera.
Councillor Meredith.
Ask him to withdraw
Councillor
that,
Meredith,
please.
please restrain yourself. You are not the chairman of the meeting. I am trying to run a fair and balanced meeting.
My comment
Please,
to
for the
Councillor
benefit of the
Meredith
rest
is
of the
that
councillors.
he and Councillor Davenport created the plot of a soap opera, in my view. I stand by that comment. But I think there are some other more serious comments I'd like to answer to. We talk about the audit committee. I believe that the Conservative chair of the audit committee does an excellent job. I hear lots of compliments from officers, auditors and others. And Cecile, I'm grateful for all the work you do. Thank you. I also... let's pick up some of these other comments. Somebody mentioned participation at Cabinet. Really? Those of you who've come to our Cabinet, none of you can look me in the eye and say there isn't full participation. And on average, for a lot of you, it takes you 2 minutes to decide what to say, and then we have to let you run on to 4 or 5 minutes. Come and be prepared, as I might, if I may compliment Councillor Emmett Roberts for always being, with concise points within the 3 minutes, and often asking questions that, frankly, I wish I'd asked too. Let's up the game a bit on this. Everybody is welcome to come to Cabinet, every member and every member of the public, and I hope that lasts for a long time. And if in doubt, we will be fairer and more open. We have no need to want to prevent people to speak at these meetings. I think Councillor Jonathan Harris is right. Public patience is limited and scrutiny is really important. Well, let's look at what we've had from scrutiny this year. What have we actually had? We have had a ton of well-informed people with officers spending enormous amount of time on briefings and coming along and providing briefings from which no real recommendations. I think Dermot came to Cabinet and gave some recommendations following the bin charges for the South Northants area. We haven't had a heck of a lot else. We'd love some more. At the moment, we've got a review going on by the Centre of Public Scrutiny to try and support and help the scrutiny chairs in making scrutiny effective. We've got some training going on as well. And we hear these comments, well, why weren't scrutiny consulted? We published the forward plan. Every member gets the forward plan of what's coming forward, yet the Deputy Leader and myself have today had a meeting with the monitoring officer to say, well, how on earth can we highlight these things? We better go through the forward plan. We'll check it every 2 weeks along with the Head of Democratic Services. Is there anything here we think scrutiny might want to have a look at? And we better try and encourage them. We can't do the job for you. Everybody, Councillor Randall, on this council is my friend, by the way, and I'm proud of that. So don't think Ian McCord's going to have any different relationship to anybody else. But honestly, watch out. I think you're going to find he does a good job. Ian, we want some recommendations. We want some challenge, please. I'm therefore glad to propose this report. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much, Councillor Nunn. I'll ask now for a vote on item 7, committee proportionality and appointment of members to committees and outside bodies or other bodies. And I'd like to ensure that we have any members who'd like to support this. Vote now, please. Thank you. All those in favour? All those against? Any abstentions? Thank you. The motion is carried. Ladies and gentlemen, item 8, calendar of meetings. And I'd like to invite Councillor Patel to introduce the report and move the proposal. Thank you. You have up to 5 minutes.
I'm pleased to propose and to seek the confirmation of the calendar of council meetings for 2022 and 23 in order for council business to continue. So pleased to propose this as outlined here.
Thank you, Councillor Patel. I'd like to invite Councillor Stephen Hibbert. My congratulations on the nomination and confirmation last night, your new role to the Town Council as Deputy Mayor. Councillor Hibbert, to second the proposal.
And congratulations to you too, Chairman, and to John. I hope his new role doesn't interrupt any occasional games of snooker that we might have. I'm happy to second this report.
Thank you, Councillor Hibbert. Are there any members of the Council who wish to comment on this item? Councillor Randall.
Thank you, Chair. I'm really sorry, actually, that I forgot to congratulate you and John on your position, and I hope you do have a great year.
Thank you.
Right, okay. Strategic planning is where I have an issue. We have 20 councillors, and we could only find 2 that actually could make a meeting at 2 o'clock. That was either that they would have been at work or they were doing school runs. I looked through the attendances of the meetings just to get an idea if it was a challenge for others, and it seems that it has been. There wasn't any meetings where there was full attendance. On one of the meetings, there was only 4 members, 4 subs, 9 apologies. In our constitution, it did say that all of our meetings were to start at 6 o'clock. I know that Councillor Eales questioned this way back at our last AGM. And, you know, we want participation. We want our members, you know, to be able to have a broad choice across our councillors as well as for the public as well, because often the public can't get to meetings at 2 o'clock. So I would therefore like the administration to consider that looking at those times again and whether we could change that timing. Most of our meetings start at 6 o'clock. I don't think that strategic planning runs on any later than 3 hours, and if it has, it's only been on one occasion. So, you know, I would ideally like the meetings to start at 6, but if not, maybe 5, and at the worst 4, but definitely not at 2 o'clock. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Randall. Councillor Russell.
Thank you very much. I may be mistaken, but I didn't hear any congratulations going to Councillor Meredith for being mayor. I did hear congratulations to Councillor Hibbert, but no mention at all for Councillor Meredith.
Thank you, Councillor Russell. I passed on massive congratulations last night to him, and I'm very pleased to be in this particular same room when he was giving his speech as well. Thank you. Okay, Councillor Beardsworth.
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to support what Councillor Randall was saying, because it's very difficult, from my point of view, for the general public to actually attend a meeting at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And I think it'd be very, very important to actually review that and bring it maybe, even if they wanted a little bit early, like 5 o'clock, that would be at least be able for people to actually attend and put their case forward. To me, it's not transparent, it's not user-friendly, and I think we really need to rethink that, and I hope the administration will take that away. And I know we have spoken to Jonathan about it, so hopefully he will. And can I also ask for a plea that in Northampton Borough Council, and I believe in the County Council as well, there was a section at the top of Cabinet Papers for scrutiny reports, and it's not on there at the moment. So if we could do that, it might help and hasten the reports to come to you, because we've all been doing work, but I don't think the reports have been coming through. It's a learning curve for all of us in new council. We're new councillors as well, so I think we just have to learn from our mistakes in the first year and get it right the second. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Beardsworth, and points have been noted here with Democratic Services. Councillor Eales.
Thank you, Chair. Councillor Randall is correct that I did raise the issue at last year's AGM, but I did better than that. I, as a member, well, now no longer a member of it, but as a member of the Democracy and Standards Committee, when we did the constitutional review, we debated that issue over and over. Don't ask me what I had for breakfast this morning, but I'm absolutely convinced, and I'm going to look over at the chair of the committee, Councillor Patel, we agreed absolutely categorically that with immediate effect, that was some months ago, so there's already been some slippage, by the way, we agreed with immediate effect the strategic planning meeting should revert to 6 p.m. So I don't want to ask whether we can take it away. I want to propose an amendment from the floor that strategic planning be 6 p.m. along with every other committee. I'll look for a seconder, someone, please. I'd like to put that to a vote, because if people in this room opt to vote that amendment down, then they will be working outside of the Constitution. For me, it's that clear.
Thank you, Councillor Eales. Can we have Councillor Bignell, please, as Chair of the Committee?
Yes, thank you, Chair, and may I offer my congratulations to you for your position as Chairman for the forthcoming year. I think the opposition forget that the term chairman is actually an abbreviation of chair manager, be they either sex, so it's chair manager, shortened to chairman, so congratulations. So, when I was appointed as chair of strategic planning this time last year, I took the trouble to consult with principal parties involved, namely officers, agents and members, as to the format of our meetings. With respect to the start time, 2 p.m. was established as the most suitable time for the following reasons. Having spoke to planning officers management, they said they would be unable to ensure relevant officers were available in the evening, and it was a problem. This is due to various reasons, such as childcare, personal safety in the evening, especially during the winter, and working too late hours. In fact, the January meeting has been spoken about went on till 7:15 on a 2 p.m. start, which would have meant an 11:15 start if we had started at their proposed at 6 p.m. Clear and informed decisions are not made at that time of the night, rather rushed, ill-judged ones. I spoke to a few agents I knew, and they were not keen on evening agendas, as in the case of strategic application, agents come from all around the country, and an evening start would necessitate overnight stays and wasted working hours. I consulted the members, I canvassed opinion from members, and I put it to a formal vote at the committee, and the majority were in favour of a 2 p.m. start. So I put it to you that this start time of 2 p.m. was well thought out and consulted on. To date, the meetings have been well attended by both Conservative and Lib Dem members, and only Labour have had any difficulties in attending. Members of the public keen to voice their opinion have not been put off by the start time. I would also like to point out that the South Northamptonshire Local Area Planning Committee meets very successfully at 2:15 p.m. I also instigated that every application should have a site visit the week prior to the meeting, unless a site visit already had been ensured. So the members had a three-dimensional view of what was before them to make better informed decisions. So, this is not a political conspiracy to exclude members, but rather a well-thought and instigated committee which is delivering sound planning judgments on a monthly basis. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Bignell, and appreciate the clarification. Just to come back on a point, Councillor Eales, we've had confirmation in terms of your proposition. It has to be in writing and submitted before the meeting. That is part of the constitutional. So if you'd like to take that away and think about it for the following meeting, then that can be considered.
By the following meeting, you mean the following AGM? Because that's when we agree a calendar.
That's correct, Councillor Eales.
Okay. So we'll work outside the Constitution for 12 months, yeah? Just want to be clear.
Councillor, it has been confirmed by the monitoring officer, and we can certainly have that confirmed by her now if you'd like. But that is as per Constitution.
And I'm not being churlish, Chair, but two wrongs don't make a right. You can't say to me, my proposition's outside the Constitution, you won't accept that, but you will accept a meeting time that's outside the Constitution. Does that sound strange to you?
Councillor Eales, as per our Constitution, if you'd like to bring forward a motion at all, it needs to be in writing before the meeting. And I know you're aware of it because obviously you were in the Constitutional Working Group. But if you'd like to take that up after the meeting, obviously it can be looked at in more detail. We've got Councillor Holland-Delamere to speak next. Thank you.
Transparency. It's not just about the discussions that have gone on before, but it's also members of the public. We are a representative body. It's working people who need to get to those meetings. And as for South Northants meeting in the afternoon, okay, that's because I haven't had much to do, because most of the decisions are on strategic planning.
Thank you, Councillor Holland-Delamere. Councillor Meredith, thank you. You have your 3 minutes, sir.
Thank you, Chair. I was for, I think, about 8 or 9 years on we used to then call it a different name under strategic planning. I forget what the name was, but we used to meet at 10 o'clock in the morning. The reason, and I think Matt knows this, and I think the reason that we used to meet in the morning, because a lot of the times you have site visits where you go around different places, and a lot of farms and a lot of other places that you needed to look at. And I think, personally speaking, I think a morning meeting is much better because we used to go in the bus to all these site visits and take our time and really have a day. Then we used to come back the following day and have the meeting in the morning. So I really can't see why the meetings can't be in the mornings, because we done that for 8 or 9 years without any it was quite good, and the meetings was very well attended, I must admit, by all the parties. So it's just a thought, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you for your point of view. Councillor Roberts, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Firstly, when Councillor Brown announced the other day, and we'd all seen the papers anyway, but that he was going to take Deputy Leader, I congratulated Councillor Brown and thanked him and said, I don't always agree with you, and we often disagree on a topic, but the way in which you've communicated with me over the last year has been impeccable. We really need to stop and start thinking about how we speak to each other. We might not agree with somebody, but we're shouting over them. We're talking when they're speaking. People are shouting from the back. We've really got to give and show some respect to individuals. I completely disagree with some of the points that have been made by colleagues over there, but I'm not about to shout your name out and call you all sorts under the sun, because you're a human and you've got a life and you're an individual. And whether I disagree with you or not doesn't make it okay for me to jeer and shout from the back of a room. Onto the calendar of meetings, I agree with my colleagues around the time of the strategic planning meeting, but I also want to make a point about the scrutiny committees and other meetings moving around the areas. For people scrutiny, I thank the chair of scrutiny for ensuring that that goes to all areas of the West Northants location, because that not only has given me the opportunity to see other locations and appreciate the 8 places that my colleagues represent, but has also meant that we've all got an equal opportunity of a long journey one day and a short journey another, which is hugely important. Anybody who starts slinging comments about somebody who's not attended a meeting or somebody who's not given a reason needs to be really careful, because when people can't attend, there's often a very valid, very personal and very important reason. And again, you need to give respect for that. As a group, we've changed some committee places to hopefully make it easier for our members to attend. And for those of us that do have a full-time job, as well as being a councillor and also have caring responsibilities, we do, as a group, an incredible job in trying to attend those meetings and making sure that we do the best for our residents. Not only do we attend those meetings and do the best for our residents, we also attend all of the other personal, local events that our residents want us to attend. So I just call on everybody, some respect, please. It's really important we show that. I don't think our residents want to hear us jeering at each other. Thank you.
Councillor Samiotis, thank you. You have 3 minutes.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I've been on planning for about 6 years now, and the meetings at South Northants Council and still now are 2:15. The other day we were at a meeting till gone 6 o'clock at night. I think councillors have enough to do in the evening with meetings, and it's quite refreshing actually to have one in the afternoon. I do agree, when we were at SNC, all of this was put to officers and members back then, and everybody agreed that it would stay at 2:15. If you can't manage to get to that time, then don't put yourself forward for the committee. I've never been to a committee and planning where the members, committee members haven't turned up and the public haven't turned up. We have a lot of public turn up, so I don't think it's justified to make it the evening.
Thank you, Councillor Samiotis. Appreciate your opinion there. Councillor Stone.
Thank you, Chair. I would hope that this council would take what I said earlier a little bit more seriously. We have got to work collectively to change the demographic of our council. It isn't good enough to fix things for the privilege of a few people who are not working for whatever reason. You know, we need to have younger people in our council. We need to have people who've got children in our council. We need to have a lot more women as part of our council. If we keep putting in structures that stop people being able to engage, we are never going to reach that point. You know, if people are making important decisions, we need them to be reflective of the constituents that we represent. We are a long way away from that. That is what we should be aiming for, and we should be making sure that all our meetings are appropriately timed so that maximum participation can happen. I'd just like to make one other point. You will find in the Labour group people whose lives are shared by the most disadvantaged people in our town and in our villages. We have the same issues that everybody else has. You know, people work, they have childcare, they have care for older relatives, they have a myriad of responsibilities. We are reflective, much more reflective, of the people that we represent. And I just wish that was echoed right across the piece.
Thank you, Councillor Stone. I'd now like to invite Councillor Suresh Patel to respond to the debate.
Thank
I
you,
appreciate
Mr.
we've had a
Chairman.
full debate with many opinions. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would like to thank all the speakers, and their comments have been noted. I know this has been discussed at the Democracy and Governance Committee meeting past 12 months as well. But I think Councillor Bignell have really outlined why he has decided to have this at 2 o'clock meeting. But what we can do is, look, and I know the Labourers have found now 2 members who can attend afternoon meeting, but we will always look at this in the future and see what we can do. So move the reports.
Thank you, Councillor Patel. I'd like to ask now for a vote. All those members in favour of voting for? Please show your hands. Thank you. And any against? And any abstentions? Thank you. The report is carried, and the calendar meetings 2022-2023, as published, go forward. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, I think we had a full and fair debate there. I appreciate you've all got passions, great passions about the matters of business. It is important to understand as 93 councillors that we all have the opportunity to try and put those points forward, but there is an awful lot of repetition sometimes. It's not the only place to comment on. I do ask you to write to the Leader of the Council if you have any issues or any matters that you haven't had clarification on this evening. I know he's a very listening chap and he'll gladly hear any points of view that you have outside the meetings. Item 9, any urgent items? They haven't been brought to my attention. If we just confirming, no further items? No. In that case, I conclude the meeting. Thank you very much for coming and a safe journey home. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.